Welcome back to another episode. This is Layla, and today we're talking about how money, men, and the 3D is basically the same thing. So, whenever I see people on social media arguing about, stuff like, decenter man or decenter capitalism or, circumstances don't matter, the 3D doesn't matter, and people are arguing with each other, and I'm like, you guys are talking about the same freaking thing. Why? Because men, money, and the 3D are all physical creations of the divine feminine. So men, of course, every single man on this planet comes from a woman. He was at some point inside a woman's womb. All right. When it comes to money, we have physical cash, of course. We have money in the quantum, as you probably know, your money in the bank is not necessarily physically in the bank. All right. So it means that your money is actually in the quantum. And the reason why there are so many billionaires who worship Venus is because they know that this is the energy to increase wealth and to also protect it. So I don't remember if it's Jeff Bezos or maybe it's Steve Jobs. I don't remember. Either one of them has a huge yacht, and the name of the yacht is Venus. All right, so they know this type of information. And the 3D, the physical reality as we know, is a holographic illusion of our subconscious mind. So even though it feels very real, it feels very tangible, what's actually omnipresent is dark matter, dark energy, because dark matter represents 96% of the universe. But of course, when we look around, especially during daytime, we don't see darkness. We see light. We see the sun. All right. So it's the same thing when it comes to men, money, and the 3D. They are all physical creations. But the thing is, some people might experience resistance with, either three of them, even though it's the same thing, because of their subconscious mind, because of their childhood experiences. Okay. So for example, if you're from a family where, you used to see your parents argue all the time and they had a very toxic and dysfunctional relationship, for example, but let's say they were financially stable. All right. So because of that, because of, your childhood and things you were hearing on a daily basis, it might be easy for you to attract money, right? It's probably not even a struggle, has never been in your life, but when it comes to relationships, you tend to find yourself in situations where it's not necessarily the same as your parents' relationship, but it's similar. There's a lot of similarities. They might even trigger you emotionally in a very similar way as your parents did, or, stuff like that. That's because of your childhood experience, and it created these subconscious blockages or subconscious wounds around it. But as soon as you take back control of your mind, basically, when you transcend the reality, you can create anything you want. So let's say you grew up, seeing your parents argue all the time and being very, mean and cruel to each other. You can decide, you can use the law of rhythm, for example, and say, you know what? I went through this because I was meant to be with a partner that makes me feel safe, that makes me feel protected. But the thing is, you're not going to be able to attract this type of person unless you find ways to make yourself feel safe and protected yourself. Because in a healthy relationship, you have to be able to leave at any time. Like, you have to be free. If not, it's not a relationship. Like, you're a slave, or you're an hostage, basically. Like, you're not free. You know what I'm saying? And, sometimes it's not overnight. Sometimes you have to practice a little more. And the way you can do that, it's actually really simple when you think about it. You can use robotic affirmations. Of course, you want to talk in the present tense always, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference of, the past, present, future. For your subconscious mind, everything is in the present moment. So you can say, like, I want a stable relationship, because if you say I want, it implies that you don't have it now. So you're going to keep manifesting, wanting a relationship and not having it, right? But if you say I am, that's really powerful, because now, and of course, if you have a lot of resistance, so let's say in that specific example of like someone growing up, with a dysfunctional family, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, for some people, it might take like 3 days of doing robotic affirmations, morning, at noon, and at night. But if you come from that type of background, it might take for you 21 days. But if you think about it, 21 days is very short, especially when it comes to like, your entire life. Like 21 days in your life is nothing. It might seem like a large amount of time, but it's very short when you think about it, But let's say if, again, with that same specific example, if your family was financially stable when it comes to money, you can do robotic affirmations and literally manifest a higher income or more financial opportunities within 3 days, because you're not going to have the same level of resistance. Okay? And how do you know that you have a high level of resistance? Well, do you have what you want? Are you living in your desired reality? And it's not about, shaming yourself and thinking about all your past mistakes, because we're all here to master specific aspects of our lives in order to ascend, in order to have a soul like expansion, basically. So that could mean something different for everybody. And of course, your birth chart is going to be a roadmap to that. It's going to be a way to see the patterns that you probably already know, but it's just like a double confirmation, I would say. And this is how you use astrology in a way that's very empowering, not the way that a lot of astrologers do. And they're like, oh no, that full moon is going to trigger karmics, and karmics are going to come back and they're going to fuck you up. Like, I don't know why people do that. I'm like, why? Karma means action. It means like a consequence to an action. So it's not even good or bad. Like, why are you guys telling people this? But anyway, that's the way that's really empowering to apply astrology in your life and to use it, like I said, as a roadmap, as a reflection. All right. So while you're doing these robotic affirmations, either for 3 days, 7 days, or 21 days, you have to stay consistent. You have to be persistent. What's actually interesting is that if you're doing that, especially if you do it for something where you have a lot of resistance, okay? So let's say you do these robotic affirmations for 21 days, all right? You're going to notice that your ego, all right, is going. Sometimes it's not necessarily like the same for everybody, but for a lot of people, your ego is going to start bringing up those past beliefs, because your ego, your conscious mind, wants to keep you safe. So if most of your life you had this belief that, money is hard to have, relationships are hard to keep, people think you're not attractive. Like, let's say you have these like negative beliefs about something, right? And you spent most of your life with these subconscious beliefs. When you're going to start robotic affirming the opposite, right? You're going to be like, everybody's obsessed with me. My partner loves to spoil me, as a woman. Like all my businesses are thriving, money comes to me like water, like it's so easy. I don't even have to work for it. I get paid to exist. All these beautiful things, right? Your conscious mind will try. It's not a test, by the way. I don't know why people are like, the universe is going to test you. It's not a test. Your conscious mind wants to keep you safe, even if what's familiar and safe to your subconscious mind is some fucked up shit. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, if you grew up with parents that were dysfunctional, your conscious mind might perceive that this is safety. Like, no, like arguing with someone all the time, being used and abused is like normal. Then like your conscious mind will try to keep you in that timeline because they're going to be like, no, that's what's safe. That's what we know. That's what we grew up with. That's family, and you're like, no. Okay. So what's going to happen is that while you're affirming for these 21 days, you might start to experience some childhood experiences through other people, through situations, doesn't have to be through people, but it could be like your reality is going to mirror you these past beliefs. And that's where you have to not react. And I know, depending on the situation, it might be hard, but that's literally the only thing you have to like master, your emotions. All right. And so the way you can do that is by rationalizing what's happening. All right. So let's say someone triggers these like childhood wounds, right? You're like, damn, okay. Even if you reacted, let's say you had like, I don't know, like you crashed out or you had an emotional reaction, or maybe you started crying, like any like physical, emotional reaction, whatever. Because sometimes it's like like an instinct, like it's not even something you think about. You're just like, oh my God, like that freaking hurts my heart, Then the way you can transcend that is while it's happening, like you're crying, you have to like take control of your mind and be like, and rationalize what's happening in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just say, you know what? This is happening right now because I started doing robotic affirmations and my ego, my conscious mind is trying to lure me back into that past, into that fake sense of safety, that illusion of family, of something being familiar, right? So you can rationalize it at first. And then you can start robotic affirmation while going through that in your mind. Like, let's say someone hurts you or they abandon you, like one of your parents did, like something like that, right? And they're triggering these emotions inside of you. While it's happening, you have to be mindful, you have to be intentional, and you start affirming the opposite. People freaking love me. People are obsessed with me. Like, even if it doesn't make sense while you're saying it, because you're like, my reality is literally the opposite right now. Like, I got laid off from my job. Like, these people are laughing, like, when I walk by. Like, when you start affirming the opposite, it's going to be so freaking powerful because you're going to start rewiring your subconscious mind. You're like, we're not doing that anymore. And that's, I would say, the hard part because you have to be persistent through that process, Of course, you also have to regulate your nervous system while you're going through that because depending on what's happening, because, if it's something that's really triggering, you might have to really calm yourself down and find a way to like be alone or like go for a walk. Like you can go on YouTube and find all these different ways to regulate your nervous system. For some people, it's like slow breath work is actually really good because it helps you come back into that state of stillness. Another way to transcend reality is to do So to for whatever time you can do it in your mind, you can do it in your car. You have to find ways to master yourself. That's what it is. And like I said, if you don't have this like high level of resistance towards a specific topic, you're going to be able to manifest things like within the same day, sometimes 3 days, sometimes 7 days. It depends on the level of resistance. And it's really easy to know if you have a high level of resistance. Like I said, do you have what you want? Not only that, but let's say you've tried like most of your life to, you know, be into this like stable relationship where it feels safe to just, you know, relax. And you've tried and you've tried and you've tried and you've tried. That's also an example of you know, resistance. Like, it's not supposed to be that hard. Like, if you've tried for so long, for so many years, it also means that your subconscious mind is, you know, programmed basically to experience that over and over and over. That's why you have to learn to take back control of your emotions, of your nervous system, of your breath. But also you have to do it in a way that's rational, that's practical, that's logical. You have to talk to yourself and be like, okay, this happened yesterday because I started robotic affirming this specific thing, and my ego is trying to, you know, keep me back, keep me into this like negative timeline where, you know, things were how they used to be. And the more you're going to do that, and like I said, 21 days is nothing when it comes to like your whole entire life, right? Like, if you had this negative belief for like the past 15 years or like 20 years, 30, 40 years, you know, 21 days is really short. But like I said, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent and persistent, because like I said, if you get thrown some like distractions during that process, you know, a lot of people give up. They just give up. They're like, you know what? I'm not meant to be loved. You know, I'm not meant to have money. I'm not meant to be appreciated. I'm not meant to be viral on social media and, you know, be like a content creator, an influencer, whatever you want to do in your life, whatever you want to create. A lot of people don't feel worthy of it because they don't follow that system. They don't follow that process, you know? And like I said, some things are going to be quick to arrive. Some things are going to take longer. What you want to do is, let's say you got lucky and you know there's a specific topic where you have a lot of resistance. And let's say you started robotic affirming and you got result like instantly, like within the same day. Like, you bumped into someone and you're like, oh my God, like, everything just aligned, right? I also recommend continuing doing robotic affirmations for the full 21 days, just to make sure that you're anchoring it, all right? Because it might even be your mind being like, okay, well, let's see if you can handle that new belief or that new way of living. And if you stop doing your robotic affirmations, your ego might try maybe like 2 weeks later to lure you back in, and then you have to start again. So that's just my personal opinion. You do whatever feels right, whatever feels good to you. But that's what I would do. Like, yeah. Let me know if you have any questions regarding these techniques. I know that the algorithm loves when I talk about like SP and obsession and men and stuff like that. But just remember that when I'm talking about this, I'm also talking about the 3D reality and money. So if you already have a partner and you're like, I don't want to manifest another SP, like I'll already have a roster, like I don't need that, right? I don't need men. Then apply this knowledge to something else, like something that you don't have. Unless you have everything, but that's super rare that everybody has everything that they want at all times, because nature is cyclical, so we go through phases. So do it as you feel called to do it. Basically, that's what it is. All right. That's it for today's episode. Let me know if you have any questions, suggestions, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.